Hey there, Ayakuni here. The year's almost done. Or, it's already done if you're watching this in the future. As the year's at its end, let's go over all the things that happened in 2022. The year started with some sad news. The maiden launch of the H-IIA rocket got delayed until further notice. Turns out that during the testing of the first stage's LE9 engines, they discovered fatigue damage in the turbopump fins, meaning the turbopump had to be completely redesigned. They also discovered that the cooling of the combustion chamber was insufficient, causing the walls to become perforated. I made a video all about the engine woes that have since been resolved, but we'll get back to that. For the last 30 years, JAXA and NASA have been collaborating on a mission to monitor the Earth's magnetosphere, using maneuvers demonstrated by the Japanese H-IIA probe and launched on the American Delta II rocket. The Geotail probe has been performing science since July 1992. This year, on June 28th, they lost contact with it, and in November, they officially declared it dead. The data it collected has been vital for many scientific breakthroughs, including an improved understanding of the composition of the lunar atmosphere. In the first 3 quarters of the year, nothing much happened, but then on October 5th we got the launch of SpaceX Crew 5, carrying Russian astronaut Anna Kikina, Americans Nicole Mann and John Casada, and Japanese astronaut Koichi Wakata. Koichi Wakata is the longest still-serving Japanese astronaut, first flying in 1996 as a mission specialist on STS-72, a space shuttle mission meant for the retrieval of the Space Flyer unit, which has been launched from Japan about 10 months prior. Then, in 2000, he became the first Japanese astronaut on the ISS, flying aboard STS-92, which delivered the Z-1 thrust segment. In 2009, he went to the ISS a second time aboard STS-119 for his first long-duration mission, becoming the first Japanese astronaut to do so, participating in expeditions 18 through 20, staying in space for 137 days. He would fly again in 2013 on the Soyuz TMA-11M for expeditions 38 and 39, where he would serve as the first Japanese ISS commander, spending 188 days in space for a total of 347 days. This will be Wakata's 5th spaceflight, where he will participate in expeditions 68 and 69, spending another 180-ish days in space. On October 12th, we got what would have been the first orbital launch from Japanese soil of 2022. To a degree, it was, though the payload failed to reach orbit. At the time, I made a video with what JAXA engineers knew at the time. In short, the second stage has 2 RCS units, and one of these did not activate. Since my last video, the investigation has been able to pinpoint it to one of 2 things. When a signal is sent to open the valves, a small explosive is supposed to go off, which gets rid of the partition plate which blocks the pipes. Hypothesis 1 says the explosive went off, but the plate wasn't properly destroyed, so the propellant couldn't flow past. Alternatively, there was a problem with the diaphragm in the propellant tank. The propellant tank has the diaphragm to separate the nitrogen from the hydrogen to allow the nitrogen to keep the hydrogen pressurized for the entire duration of the flight. It is possible that the diaphragm was somehow covering the exit hole, so when the valve opened, it got sucked in a bit, got jammed and blocked the pipe. Whichever hypothesis ends up being right, the next rocket event went a lot better. In September, as I was rendering my LE9 engine video, JAXA engineers announced that they had resolved the issues with the first stage engine on the H-IIA, and the H-IIA maiden launch was closer than ever. And so, on November 6th, they rolled out the H-IIA to the pad and performed a captive firing test. Everywhere else in the world, this would have been called a static fire. And the static fire went swimmingly, because a bit over a month later, we got a launch date. February 12th, 2023. I'm hyped for sure. Next up, by far the biggest space event of 2022, the maiden launch of the Space Launch System carrying Artemis-I to the moon. It carried a bunch of CubeSats with it as secondary payloads, among which JAXA's Aquarius, which will sit in the Earth-Moon L2 Lagrange point and monitor the Earth's plasmasphere from afar while looking for lunar impact flashes and near-Earth asteroids. Aquarius is doing fantastically. JAXA's other CubeSat, not so much. Omotenashi was supposed to be the smallest moonlander ever, but quickly after releasing it from the rockets, it started tumbling. Unable to lock onto the moon, it quickly ran out of electricity and lost contact with ground control. The engineers are hoping to regain contact in March. By then, it will be very far away from the Earth though, so we'll see. On December 11th, another Japanese moonlander was launched, Hakuto-R Mission 1. The commercial moonlander, carrying the UAE's Rashid rover, launched on a Falcon 9 and will land on the moon around April of next year. If successful, they will be the first private company to do so. And that was it for 2022. Before ending the video, let's swiftly go over what 2023 has in store for us. On January 25th, JAXA will be launching the IGS Radio 7 spy satellite on the H-IIA rocket. On February 12th, we will see the maiden launch of the H-3 rocket carrying the Daiichi-3 Earth observation satellite. In late February, Space One, a private rocket company, hopes to finally launch their Kairos rocket. In March, JAXA hopes to regain control of Umatanash. In April, iSpace hopes to finally put their moonlander on the surface of the moon. Somewhere later in the year, Interstellar Technologies hopes to finish construction on their Launch Complex 1 in Hokkaido, though they haven't given an indication of when the maiden launch of their Zero rocket will be. Wikipedia lists 4 more launches of the H-IIA rocket, including the launch of SLIM, a small moonlander which will land within 100 meters of its target. It also lists 6 more launches of the H-3 rocket, but we'll see. Neither of these numbers come with much of a source. Except for the SLIM launch, that's definitely scheduled for 2023. But whatever happens, spaceflight is becoming more and more exciting, and I'm all here for it. I hope you had a fantastic 2022 Electric Boogaloo, and I wish you a happy 2023. See you next year. Bye!